I'm Aditi and I'm an origami artist, and today I'm going to talk about my journey in origami. So to begin with, I'm sure all of you have tried your hands on origami in the most simplest ways possible, be it folding a boat, be it folding a plane or a crane. I mean, these are the things that we did as kids in school, right? Or maybe as adults for our own children. But I want to show you what origami can also be. So it's been used in space by NASA, where solar arrays are sent to the space through a spaceship where the entire solar array is wrapped up in a smaller space, and once it reaches the space, it opens up to become a larger surface. Origami is also used as a kinetic installation where you can see these individual modules that are individually controlled by motors, and they literally dance through the choreographed program that is running them. Origami is also used as bulletproof collapsible shields, where you can see how the shield immediately opens and you're able to protect yourself immediately. Origami is also present in nature. You can see these leaves opening up, unfolding almost out of the twigs. And origami is also there in large-scale installations. But how did I start? Well, that's very interesting. Before I get to my start, I want to give you a little story on how 10 years back, I had just finished my post-graduation in textiles, and I was at a point in my life where I had to choose between textiles and origami. Textiles was something that I studied for 8 years, and I knew that I would get a job, I would be able to make money, I would be able to reach a place where I could call myself successful. But at the same time, I was very confused because I wanted to take origami as well, and I wanted to explore it further. But the only thing that stopped me from doing it at that point was that origami was very new. I mean, I'm talking about like 10 years back. What did people know about origami then? It's not like people know a lot about it even today, and I'm glad that they don't, and I become a language for them to understand and know about this craft more. But back then, I mean, people knew of only boats and planes. And for me to leave a career of 8 years and tell the world that, oh my God, I want to leave textiles and take paper and make it my profession, I'm sure nobody would have found it convincing enough. But I wanted to do that. I wanted to explore this craft more, and I wanted to take that plunge and to take that risk in my life. It took a lot of time for me to not just convince everybody, but also to convince myself. But little did I know that the seed of origami had already been planted in me, and the only thing that I had to do was water it. So I set on a journey where I realized that how origami was and has become a superpower, where I want to dive deeper in it and learn much more about it, explore more about it, and get a deeper understanding of what are the possibilities of this craft. But how did it start? How did I get that crazy? How did I get to touch that side and to see that world? Was through, I call him my guru, Onkan Mitra, who came to NID while I was still in college and took a 2-week course back in 2010. And I remember during that course, I went crazy because before I entered that course, the only thing I knew about origami, again, was just boats and planes. And for me to be able to create something so complex using my own hands was completely amazing for me. And I couldn't stop myself from folding. I mean, you can see my explorations. These are during the class. I just couldn't stop myself. Like, I remember the classes getting over, but I was still sitting in the class and I kept folding. I was I'm not kidding, but I was the fastest folder in the class. And my friends still, yeah, they still call me the fastest because I just couldn't stop, you know, that excitement was what made me fold the way I folded like a maniac. So all these explorations led me to more explorations. So let me share this type of origami, which is called modular origami. So essentially what modular origami is, you take multiple pieces of papers, which are square sheets of papers, and you fold them in a certain way. This is a square sheet of paper, which is folded in a certain way, and then all these modules are fit together, which you can see here, without using any glue. There is no glue, no scissors that is used in the making of this piece, which is what completely excited me. I was like absolutely mind blown, and I wanted to explore more of modular origami. This is another type of modular origami, different designs that you could create by just tweaking the module a little bit. And this one is my favorite, where the origami itself allows you to move it and to transform it to another form. And you can open all of them. So this was very captivating for me. The next one, this is a type of origami which is called teslations. So basically in teslations, you take a pattern and you repeat that pattern, and then you fold it, and you can come up with all these really complex patterns and forms. Let me show you some examples of it. This is a type of tessellation which is called water bomb. And the reason why it's called water bomb is because you can press it and it becomes a ball. And that's not it. You can play with it and reverse the whole thing, and can put it back, and it can go back to where you started. So, I mean, these are the kind of things that I couldn't believe you could do with origami. And the best part was you just needed a single sheet of paper and your hands. And that's all. And you could create magic. I mean, once I got into folding, I remember sitting in a restaurant, sitting in an office, having any paper with me, whether it was a ticket, whether it was a menu card, whether it was a bill, I was folding like mad. So where did it lead me? All this madness. So this was my first project that I did as a solo artist. This is back in 2017 in Mumbai. This was for Sacred Games, Season 2, which was featured in Netflix. So that was the logo of Sacred Games Season 2, and I had to translate that logo into origami. And the idea was to, while my thought process behind coming up with that logo was to give every ring a distinct character so that they stand out, but at the same time, they are completely in sync with each other. So there were, the most interesting part was that the fold of all the three rings is pretty much the same fold. But what I've explored here is the scale of the fold, is the measurement in the pattern. And by just changing the pattern a little bit, you will be able to see different textures that are being derived, which was so beautiful. Here are a few explorations that I did before I came up with the final. This was the final artwork that was placed in Kalki's office. You can see it in the backdrop. And there was another artwork, that was essentially a twisted tessellation that I did for their meditation room. So if you can see the making of the DNA, the huge tessellation, this was the first time that I was exploring something large scale. And it just threw me away on how paper, being such an interesting medium, would act exactly the same way no matter what you do with the scale. And that is what I wanted to explore. So this project led me to explore a side of origami which not many people were doing, especially in India, which was scale. And I wanted to explore scale more. I wanted people to not just see an artwork, but also experience an artwork, become one with the, and you know, I didn't want the artwork to be just an artwork on the wall. I wanted the artwork to become the wall itself, which is what led me to the next project. This is the project where we made an entire 40-feet wall using modular origami. So this is the same, this is the same module that I have used for the back wall. There are more than 50,000 modules that were individually folded and attached to each other. And there were more than 50 people who came together to make this wall. So if you look at these triangles carefully, essentially it's an equilateral triangle, which we've all studied in geometry, right? 60 degrees on all three sides. But when you put these triangles together, you essentially make an isometric grid, which is these triangles coming together and getting packed with each other to form a more complex grid system. When you put 6 triangles together in a circle, it becomes a hexagon, right? So in the upper picture here on the right, these are all hexagons that are fit with each other, which is why it is lying flat as a wall. But the minute I change the geometry, I tweak the geometry a little, which is, for example, if I introduce a pentagon instead of a hexagon, what will it do to the structure? Instead of lying flat, the structure will lift up from the ground. And it would become a more intense, a more complex form. And I wanted to take that characteristic further. And that led me to create a cloud light, which is an enclosed form, all irregular grid folding, and just exploring geometry in a way where I'm just, if I'm allowed to say that, play with geometry, to use it in a way, to use it in my advantage. So we've used a translucent paper here so that it allows the light to emit. There is a combination of translucent paper as well as solid white paper, which has been used to create this texture on the light that you see here. But you know, even in spite of making that 40-feet wall, I was still looking for more interactive. I wanted my artwork to be more interactive, to be more communicative to people. I wanted people to come, stand next to it, look at it, touch it, want to have some kind of a communication with what I was making, which is what led me to the next project, which was a kinetic piece. This was the first time that I was delving into something which was so technical, other than the techniques of origami. And the idea of a kinetic origami actually sprung because origami itself is very kinetic, you know? Like, for example, this. It has this natural movement to it. So you don't have to do much to it. You just have to attach a motor that can make it move in this manner. So this entire artwork was hand-painted, which you can see here, where we collaborated with a watercolor artist who did the painting of this artwork. And you can see how a single motor here is running and is opening and closing the artwork. So the motor is in the middle, which you can see, and there are 2 arms. So one arm is static, and the other arm is what is moving the artwork. It's opening it and closing it at the same time. And another very interesting thing about this artwork was that it had 2 sides. So if you see the picture on the top right corner, the artwork has lighter shades of blues, and on the bottom right corner, it is the darker shades of blue. Essentially, on the top picture, I'm standing on the left side, and at the bottom picture, I'm standing on the right side of the artwork. And the illusion that is being created is because of origami, because of how I've placed the pattern and colored the pattern within the pattern, if you can see it. So when you look at the artwork from this side, you will see one colors, and when you look at it from the other side, I'm sorry, when you look at it from this side, you will see one color, and when you look at it from this side, the color will change. That's because I've tweeted the pattern a little, just to bring that extra element to the artwork. Now this pattern as well is a very simple fold of origami, which is called herringbone tessellation. Essentially, these are 45 degrees angles which are created in regular format, each line being alternate, mountain fold and a valley fold. And when you collapse it, it falls flat. When I collapse this, it becomes flat and a straight line, which is what I used in this artwork. So at the end, I would only like to tell you all that origami was my superpower. But, you know, it is not about origami. It is about having love for something and being able to follow that something and making it your superpower. I mean, what is your superpower might not be my superpower, and what is my superpower might not be your superpower. But the whole idea is to find that, to harness it, and to delve into it so deeply that it completely becomes yours. And in that process, you're able to find your true self. Thank you so much.